Took you long enough. The Mandalorian Episode 3 aired a couple of days ago, and holy shit, what an episode. That's how you hook an audience. Thank you. None of that blue alien monologue nonsense, overabundant references, vague as shit exposition that's more confusing than it is explanatory, and no bullshit dino-vag detour. Episode 3 had an impact on me that I was hoping the pilot episode would have. And make no mistake, I stand by my words on both episodes 1 and 2. They weren't terrible by any means. They were severely lacking, poorly paced, and overbloated with a lot of nonsense that honestly dulled both episodes. The way they choose to open with episodes 1 and 2 was honestly baffling to me. So much of that stuff could have been either cut out or explained more efficiently and explained better. Episodes 1 and 2 should have been an hour-long opening to introduce us to this world. Cut out about 17 minutes of wasted screen time from both episodes and repurpose some of that time to better outline the factions, the currencies, and the state of the galaxy, and above all else, what the Mandalorians are. And presto, an excellent introduction. Now, episodes 1 and 2 very lightly touched on all of that stuff, which I appreciated, but the delivery was very unclear and lacked a lot of nuance. Despite this, combining episodes 1 and 2, ending with Discount Jango Fett fighting the Rhino and leaving Tatooine, would have been a much stronger start and left a much stronger foundation for the series. People told me that the reveal of Baby Yoda was meant to be the hook, but episode 2 provided enough nuance on the creature as well as its growing relationship to the protagonist to make me eager to see what happens next. Now, with that ending episode 1, Episode 3 should have been the second episode to really give bolster to the world building and to propel the plot forward. Now, in regards to episode 3, this episode was absolutely brilliant from start to finish. I've seen the episode multiple times and I can scarcely find a flaw. This video is going to be me pretty much sucking the show's dick for most of the time. I have a couple of issues, but most of them are nitpicks or things that can be fixed in later episodes. So what I like most about this episode is how it basically brings all of the trace world-building elements from the previous episodes full circle, giving all of those small mentions further nuance. As a matter of fact, episode 3 addressed pretty much all of my unanswered questions regarding the Bounty Hunters Guild, the Beskar Steel, and thankfully the Mandalorians. Not just their history, which in previous episodes they referred to as the Great Purge, but because of the lack of nuance, I thought they were referring to the Jedi Purge. Come on, you guys are all thinking it too, let's be honest. That's literally the only other purge that has been shown in the mainline Star Wars episodes. And if you're like me and haven't watched or read any of the external source material, then yeah, that's what you'd be thinking. But they also outline how it was the Empire that wiped out the Mandalorians and ransacked their Beskar Steel. So wait. Dave Filoni, you're telling me that the Mandalorians hate the Empire?
Why the fuck didn't you say so?
That doesn't just flush out the protagonist's motivations, but his entire faction in just one line. But again, we'll come back to that. Let's start at the beginning. Discount Jango Fett returns back to the planet of his contractors. As he approaches, Apollo Creed tells him to take Baby Yoda straight to the contractors, and not to even bother with the guild. Meanwhile, Baby Yoda is fiddling with the ship's controls, and Discount Jango Fett tells him to stop, those aren't toys, before placing it in its crib. You can tell by the way he does this, the creature has certainly grown on him, so there's a conflict there. He's grown endeared to his bounty, but Baby Yoda is still a bounty, and he's about to hand over the bounty to the people he has a lot of disdain for, though it hasn't been fully revealed yet. They make their way through the scummy streets of the spaceport that looks somewhat akin to Mos Eisley, at least in terms of its architecture, and its inhabitants, and you can tell as they walk along, Baby Yoda is becoming increasingly frightened, fearful for where it's going to end up. They arrive at the Contact's HQ, and they are greeted by an obnoxious metal eye to grant access to the interior. Again, this may seem like I'm going into a little bit too much detail with my descriptions, but there's not a single frame wasted in this episode. Every frame serves a purpose, and we will come back to this metal eye droid later. They are greeted and escorted by a group of stormtroopers, one of which assertively pulls Baby Yoda's crib along, which Discount Jango Fett takes issue with, even telling the trooper to take it easy. Again, further reinforcing to the audience his grown endearment to Baby Yoda. To which the stormtrooper responds with what I'm going to assume is an intentionally cheesy line, saying, "You take it easy." I don't know, it just seemed kind of goofy and poorly written, but I think that's the point. It's meant to be cheesy. Anyway, the Contact greets Discount Jango Fett, and he immediately confronts the Contact regarding the other bounty hunters that were sent, including the ones that were killed before he arrived at Tatooine. the discount IG-88 droid he double-crossed to save Baby Yoda's life, and the discount Tusken Raiders, which attacked him on the road. Yeah, apparently I mistook them for native sand people when in fact they were actually bounty hunters, which were sent after Baby Yoda with a tracking strobe of their own. And I didn't pick up on that mistake until watching episode 3, so again, thanks for filling in another gap. The contact tells him he didn't want to take any chances, so yes, he sent dozens of bounty hunters to get the job done. But he, having succeeded, shall get the spoils, upon which he opens up a large container possessing a dozen plus slabs of Beskar steel, which, based on what we saw from episode 1, we can assume is a very handsome reward. Discount Jango Fett inspects the reward, but as Baby Yoda is being taken away, he asks what they plan to do with it, and immediately the contact is on edge, saying it's uncharacteristic of a bounty hunter and strictly against the guild code not to ask questions once you've taken the reward. It's also very clear that should Discount Jango Fett press further, the stormtroopers would likely become hostile. I really enjoyed this confrontation. It raised the tension, shed more light on the characters and the rules that govern the world's factions. Discount Jango Fett returns to the Mandalorian HQ in what is probably my favourite scene of the entire episode. He brings his bounty, and his superior tells him that she can craft him a whole new set of Beskar armor, since his current armor has seen a lot of battle and isn't as protective anymore. He mentions how he killed the Rhino, and as part of the Mandalorian code, she tells him that he can have a signet of the Rhino made. But Discount Jango Fett declines, saying it wasn't a clean kill, and that he had help from an enemy. His superior asks him why an enemy would assist, and Discount Jango Fett replies, "It did not know I was its enemy." You can tell by the line delivery just how conflicted he is on the matter, not to mention his wonder of the creature's mysterious power that saved his life, which he is unable at this point in time to comprehend. His superior tells him that she can also manufacture what's called Whispering Birds, an effective defense weapon that can be used on multiple targets. As I said previously, not a single wasted frame. Before long, Discount Jango Fett is confronted by his other brethren from the Mandalorian tribe. One of the Mandalorians resents the bounty that Discount Jango Fett claimed, since all of the Beskar armor that he brought with him has an Imperial sigil, meaning that the Beskar is essentially blood money, and that only a coward would take it since the Empire obtained it by wiping out their kind in the Great Purge in the first place. Again, this just provides so much backstory to work with, and so much character is given to the Mandalores as a whole. And what happens next is pretty awesome. The Mandalore that's mouthing off places his hand on Discount Jango Fett and a fight breaks out. Both draw their weapons and are ready to fight to the death. And while this is happening, Discount Jango Fett's superior seems apathetic at first, like it's just another day in their society. That deadly skirmishes between Mandalores is common enough to be some sort of custom. She eventually chimes in to prevent them from killing each other, saying that, and I'll paraphrase here, that those who live by the way of the Mandalore take what they can to survive, and taking the blood money cannot be considered cowardly. She finishes by saying, "This is the way," and the rest of the tribe repeats in unison, "This is the way." Then we cut back to Apollo at the cantina, telling one of the bounty hunters requesting work that he's no doubt an incompetent deadbeat who needs to fuck off. And then all of a sudden, I'm bringing sexy back. Our boy's got some shiny new armor and he be rocking up looking like a sexy beast. Discount Jango Fett walks through the cantina and he be turning heads left, right, and center. Apollo welcomes him back, calls him his most valuable partner, reveals a small bit of commission that he received from the successful job, Baby Yoda, receiving his own Beskar slab in fact. Again, not a wasted frame, and we will come back to this. Apollo tells Discount Jango Fett to look around. Everyone detests his Beskar bounty reward, but he, on the other hand, rejoices for his success. It was because of this line I realized this regular cantina is in actuality the headquarters for the Bounty Hunters Guild. See why I was annoyed with episode 1 wasting time on the Shape of Water instead of giving us these details? Apollo asks Discount Jango Fett what he can do for him, and Discount Jango Fett tells him straight up he simply wants his next job. Apollo tries to convince him to take a break, but Discount Jango Fett insists, and takes the first decent job Apollo offers him. It's quite clear that he is conflicted about Baby Yoda and would like to move along as quickly as possible. Though upon heading for the exit, he cannot help but asks, what do they plan to do with the creature? And Apollo tells him not to burden himself, not to mention it's against the guild rules. But Discount Jango Fett insists, the reasoning behind which is his concern for the fact that these people are Empire loyalists. And the previous scene, as discussed, shows the Mandalorians are not fond of the Empire in the slightest. Apollo tells him that the Empire's time is over and urges him not to worry, for it's not his concern. Discount Jango Fett leaves in a hurry and hastens to his ship, mans the pilot's seat, and starts up the engines, but he stops to ponder his next choice. And after a few moments, he shuts the ship down and goes to seek out Baby Yoda for himself. After some wandering, Discount Jango Fett tracks down Baby Yoda's crib with what I assume was the little radar tracking device he used to find it in the first place, only to find that his crib has been thrown into the garbage, and Baby Yoda is nowhere in sight. This raises Discount Jango Fett's concerns greatly. He recons the hideout from a distance where he overhears a conversation between the science man who wanted Yoda delivered alive and the contact. The conversation is a little bit unclear, but basically he learns that they're accelerating their plans to extract what they need from Baby Yoda, and before long they are going to kill it. This prompts Discount Jango Fett to action. He knocks on the hideout's door, he proceeds to rip the security droid's eye socket out, the droid that makes a hilarious sound like it was in excruciating pain, and that brought out a good chuckle in me. The cries of agony from the security droid draws out a good chunk of stormtroopers through the front entrance. Discount Jango Fett flanks around the far side and breaches through one of the walls. Discount Jango Fett flanks around the far side and breaches through one of the walls using a tactical explosive. He then makes his way down several corridors, dispatching several stormtroopers in a stealthily manner, or giving zero fucks and just blasting them into oblivion. I particularly like the grapple hook assassination. That was some good shit. Discount Jango Fett finds the chamber Baby Yoda is being held in. He kills one stormtrooper and confronts Science Man. Science Man pleads for his life and tells Discount Jango Fett that he's the only reason Baby Yoda is still alive. It's possible he recognizes the man's voice from the recon conversation he eavesdropped on, or perhaps it was seeing the man's genuine concern for the creature at their initial meeting that prompts Discount Jango Fett to spare him. He then takes Baby Yoda out of the chamber and carries the unconscious creature out of the hideout with one arm. There are two bits that mildly annoyed me. He's holding the baby with one arm, and yet he finds himself sandwiched in a narrow corridor with two stormtroopers on either side, and Discount Jango Fett is able to spin and dodge blaster fire from both sides, dispatching one by blaster and dispatching the other stormtrooper by flamethrower. I don't doubt that he can maneuver fairly alright despite being encumbered, but missing blaster shots down a narrow corridor at near point blank range, I think that was going a little bit too far. I don't doubt that Discount Jango Fett would have survived if hit because of the armor. However, the fact that Baby Yoda doesn't take damage is what baffles me. Another instance I found to be somewhat far-fetched is the pitch-black cat-and-mouse sequence that plays out in the next room with Discount Jango Fett and two other stormtroopers. He still manages to get the drop on both of those stormtroopers despite his obnoxious armor and carrying Baby Yoda. Again, I just found that a little too hard to stomach. Just really outlines the incompetence of the stormtroopers, but that doesn't solely fall upon this show. It's a cardinal sin exhibited in pretty much every Star Wars movie that features them. But then we move on to an awesome sequence where Discount Jango Fett gets surrounded by 4 stormtroopers and he fakes them out. He pretends to concede, urging them not to shoot the valuable asset he carries, kneels to the floor and uses the Whispering Birds to take out all the surrounding stormtroopers. These things act as miniature homing missiles. That's a fucking sick weapon right there. Nice work. As Discount Jango Fett leaves the compound, it cuts to the Bounty Hunters Guild where every single bounty hunter is holding a tracking strobe, alerting them of a close by new target. And given the chain of events we just witnessed, we don't have to be told who that target is. As Discount Jango Fett nears his ship, he is surrounded by bounty hunters and Apollo stands in front of him to negotiate, telling him that he broke the code and that he needs to surrender Baby Yoda back to the Empire loyalists. If he does so, Apollo will let him leave in peace. Okay, I can't help but feel they lifted this whole bounty hunter hunted by other bounty hunters thing from John Wick Chapter 2.
Whoever it is, I'll kill them. I'll kill them all.
But I digress. Discount Jango Fett refuses to heed the warning and opts to shoot first whilst pulling an awesome maneuver rolling onto a droid-operated speeder and tries to escape a flurry of fire from dozens of enemies. Well covered and well armored, he takes out several bounty hunters along the way. The speeder gets disabled by Apollo and Discount Jango Fett uses his sniper to shoot enemies through a small crevice of cargo boxes that the speeder was carrying. And once things get really desperate, he uses his flamethrower to scorch multiple enemies at once at close range. But once he's out of options, and the tone shifts from balls out action to hopeless despair, he pauses to take a look at Baby Yoda, who has somehow remained asleep this whole time, only for some unexpected help. Yes, a whole squad of Discount Jango Fett show up, including my new personal favourite, this hulky motherfucker holding a minigun blaster. He tells Discount Jango Fett that they'll hold them off and then he needs to get out of there. Discount Jango Fett tells them that they'll have to relocate their Mandalorian HQ, but Minigun Blaster seems okay with it, replying, "This is the way." To which Discount Jango Fett responds in kind. I like how this tells the audience that the Mandalorians are used to migrating at this point in time, There's been plenty of references to the Great Purge, so we assume if they had a permanent home planet at one point, that this is how they managed to survive as a faction from the Empire for so long. Discount Jango Fett makes it onto his ship only to be stopped by Apollo, who holds him at gunpoint and asks him one last time to hand over Baby Yoda. Discount Jango Fett has been caught with his guard down and needs to improvise. He sets off some exhaust valves, blinding Apollo, and then finishes him off with a blaster shot to the chest. Apollo, though, has not been killed. It's revealed that the blaster shot struck his torso, where he concealed his previously revealed Beskar slab. As I said before, no frame in this episode was wasted. Not to mention, this kind of reminds me of Rush Hour 2.
Thank you, Benjamin.
As Discount Jango flies away, Baby Yoda once again fiddles with the controls, only this time instead of telling it to go away, Discount Jango Fett screws off the rubber handle from one of the control sticks and hands it to Baby Yoda as a toy to play with, only to be farewelled with a salute from one of his Mandalorian brethren flying with a jetpack. And as a final line, Discount Jango Fett says, "I gotta get one of those." Hell's fucking yes, and I cannot wait to see it. That ends The Mandalorian Episode 3. What an excellent bloody episode. Excellent world building, plot progression, character development, pulse-pounding action, and a flawless pace. This was the Star Wars directorial debut for Deborah Chow, and what an impact she has made. Pat yourself on the back, well done. I was skeptical of this series at first. I think dividing the first and second episode was a mistake, not to mention the level of screen time wasted on certain things that were inconsequential to the story's progression and its world building, when that time could have been much better spent. Episode 1 was mediocre and left me underwhelmed. Episode 2 endeared me to the protagonist, but still left me without a hook. Episode 3 has answered just about all of my grievances and then some, and you bet your ass I'm hooked now. Aside from my nitpicks, there's one thing that still kinda bugged me, and that's the unclear understanding of the villains and their motivations. So far we've seen two villains, the old bastard and Science Man. We understand one wants Baby Yoda dead and one wants Baby Yoda alive, but they certainly aren't the kingpins of their organization. And we don't yet know who that kingpin is, and most importantly, why this organization wants Baby Yoda is still very much unclear. We can assume it's because it's Force sensitive, perhaps, but other than that, we don't have much to go on. Now, I'm quite certain that they'll address this at some point, so I'm not docking points, I'm just saying I wish that we had received more development up till now. And that's pretty much everything I got to say about Episode 3. I'll absolutely be watching Episode 4 and the rest of the season. However, as to my videos, whether or not I'll be reviewing each new episode at the moment is unclear, and whether or not I'm going to be continuing making videos on a regular basis is very much up in the air as well. I have other videos planned for the future, but regrettably the deciding factor on how I will proceed with this channel comes down to time and money, I'm afraid. However, with that said, I have created a second channel called Anomaly Rants. It's basically a backup channel in case this one gets deleted unceremoniously by myself or YouTube for that matter. But it also acts as a platform for a different, less investing but more active style of content. I know how much you like my rants, and there's plenty of stuff I'd like to talk about in a more unscripted nature. So if you're interested, you can head over there after this video. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. As for some other links, if you'd like to support me financially with $1 per month, consider donating to my Patreon or Subscribestar, the links of which are in the description as well. And as always, a special thanks to all of my existing patrons and Subscribestars. You guys are awesome. Lastly, if you'd like to interact with me and my community, and ask me some questions perhaps, provide me criticism or whatever, you can find me on Twitter or you can find me on Discord. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, so don't feel shy about reaching out. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Thanks for staying till the end, and I'll see you all next time.